If you look at the music industry in its current state, one of the most valuable abilities to have is versatility. Being able to sing and rap, even if you don't have the best voice or bars, it's still something that a lot of the top artists do. The person that I think does it best is one of the pioneers of being a hybrid artist, and that's Bryson Tiller, aka Pen Griffey, aka Young Tiller, aka Godzilla. Bryson Tiller is one of my top 3 favorite artists right now, and he's one of the most important artists of the past 5 years. He's also one of the most quiet, guarded artists out there. The most interaction you'll usually get from him is when he's live streaming a game on Twitch. And up until Anniversary, you'd be hard pressed to find an interview with him. So in this video, we're going to break down his music and see how a gamer from Kentucky became one of the most influential artists of the 2010s. Bryson Dewan Tiller was born in Louisville, Kentucky on January 2nd, 1993. At the age of just 4, he lost his mother, so his grandmother became his primary caretaker. Bryson began making music as a teenager, and he says that he was a quiet kid in high school and kids would rarely talk to him. He was heavily into gaming, and still is to this day, a huge fan of Respawn, Insomniac, Rockstar, and has always wanted to make a game of his own. But outside of gaming, he could sing and rap, and in his school, people knew that. Tiller started making his own music around 2011, and that's when he dropped his first mixtape, Killer Instinct. He describes performing at an ex-girlfriend's birthday party where he actually got booed off the stage. In 2013, Bryson Tiller had his first daughter, Harley. Between having his first child and feeling like his music wasn't really going anywhere, Tiller walked away from making music. He got a job at UPS, Papa John's, and a moving company all at once. But even for a dude as busy as he was, he couldn't stay away from music. He got back into music with a head full of steam and describes being in the studio as much as possible. At the time, he was putting everything on SoundCloud, and at most, he was getting a few thousand plays on a few of his songs. And in October of 2014, he uploaded Don't to SoundCloud. Originally, he put it out and then quickly took it back down because he didn't feel like people were really into it. But after a friend called him asking what happened to the song, Bryson decided to put Don't back onto SoundCloud. Don't was the first song of his to blow up. He describes working at Papa John's and constantly going to his locker to check his phone, while Don't crossed the 10,000 play mark on SoundCloud. Don't completely took off and ended up hitting the number 3 spot on the Billboard 100 chart. It gave him the opportunity to start working with Timbaland and put him on the map of another superstar, Drake. Drake wanted to sign Bryson Tiller to OVO, but Tiller decided it was in his best interest to pass on OVO and ended up signing with RCA instead. That's a decision that even to this day, I'm glad he made. Though he passed on OVO, he and Drake maintained a good relationship, even as they pretty much occupied a similar space in music. A full year after putting out Don't, Bryson Tiller released his debut studio album. Trapsoul was the perfect embodiment of Tiller's music. He's just as good of a rapper as he is a singer, and vice versa. Trapsoul displayed that beautifully, opening up with Difference on the intro and making the silky smooth transition into Let 'Em Know. Trapsoul is full of hits, with Exchange as the 3rd track on the album, of course Don't, Sorry Not Sorry, Rambo, Been That Way, Overtime, Right My Wrongs, the whole album. Throughout 2016, every song I just mentioned had its turn to blow up, which led to more and more people becoming familiar with Pen Griffey. Bryson Tiller's music is usually centered around women, whether it's about trying to get with a girl, trying to steal someone's girl, making up to a girl. Yeah, that's about it. But in all seriousness, yes, women is the main focus of his music. Maybe that's why not as many people mess with his music as you would think, because it's more so catered towards women. But that's kind of the same case with Chris Brown, so I don't know. Trapsoul was introduced to me by a friend of mine, and I didn't care for it at first. The subject matter and the high-pitched tone of Tiller's voice, at least at the time, turned me away. It was something that grew on me over time as I started to hear his music more often. Trapsoul would end up going triple platinum and was nominated for Best R&B Album at the Billboard Music Awards. In 2017, Bryson Tiller released his sophomore album, True to Self. This album had some big shoes to fill after Trapsoul, and most people will say that it didn't fill those shoes. But I don't think anything could do that. True to Self wasn't even an album that Bryson was 100% into. He had a lot going on outside of music, but because of his obligations to his record label, he pretty much had to put out a second album. True to Self was met with mixed reviews. A lot of people directly compared it to Trapsoul and just wrote it off as sounding the same, except not as good. But now I wonder if that's because Tiller wasn't all in on this album, or if even on a bad day for him, it's still a good album, it's just people were comparing it to one of the greatest albums of the 2010s in Trapsoul. You tell me. But I thought True to Self was good. Not great, but good nonetheless. It had its fair share of hits with Self-Made, Run Me Dry, Something Tells Me, and Blowing Smoke. A lot of people, including myself, were just happy to get a new album from him. But after True to Self, we didn't get much from Pen Griffey in the following years. We got singles like Cancelled and heard him in features here and there, but Bryson Tiller definitely faded into the background for a good chunk of time. This was because of a couple different reasons. He says that he battled bouts of depression and dealt with heavy self-doubt. He also had his second daughter, Kelly, in 2019. But another big reason is because he was working on his massive project, Serenity, a 3-volume production that would contain a rap album, a R&B album, and even a pop album. Serenity has been in the works for years, and Bryson's already confirmed that it still will not be releasing this year, but let's go back a bit. Bryson Tiller says that in recent years, while being deposed in a legal case, he was shown dates of a lot of his early music, and that nostalgia sparked a desire to want to go back to some of his old work. In 2020, Bryson Tiller had gone through old hard drives and found a bunch of songs that didn't make it onto Trapsoul 5 years prior. He reworked a few of those older projects and created some brand new ones and really let everything fall in place. Anniversary is all about time. It released exactly 5 years after his very first album, and the overall theme focuses on how much his life has changed over the course of those 5 years. He dedicated the album to his late grandmother, and on the song Keep Doing What You're Doing, you can hear a voicemail that she left to him. Anniversary has become my favorite album of his because you can hear his growth, and I'm a big fan of the overarching theme of time that the entire album contains. Years Go By, Sorrows, Timeless Interlude, Keep Doing What You're Doing, and the only song with a feature, which just so happens to be Drake, Out of Time. Anniversary is also full of hits. Bryson Tiller is still working on Serenity, but he's already said that it won't be out this year. However, he has hinted towards releasing something else later this year. Just a couple days ago, he released a new song on SoundCloud, One Sided. If you haven't heard it yet, I'll link it down in the description below. Bryson Tiller's music is in a lane of its own, specifically because you can't put it into one category. To me, he's one of the most important artists to have blown up in the 2010s, alongside Drake and The Weeknd, with all three of their early music paving the way for others to become hybrid artists as well. The three of them all carved out their own respected space within music, but Bryson will always be my favorite because he simply does it the best. Whatever project he has coming on the horizon, I know myself and many others will be patiently waiting. If you'd like to keep up with the music I'm currently listening to, follow my Galactic Grizzly Spotify playlist. It's the first link in the description below. Be sure to hit the like button as it helps this video reach more people, and also subscribe to the channel so you can keep up with all my new videos, polls, and live streams. I'll talk to you in the next one. Peace. And that's when he dropped his first Originally he put it out and then quickly took it back. Jesus. Put him on the map for another superstar. Jesus. And Bryson's already confirmed that it's still Monopoly. Jesus.
Oh yeah. You just left town, yeah, you skated on me. Bounce, switch locations on me.